Hi, my name is Edholm, and in this video, I'm going to share the number one reason why you should start a podcast. All right, before I divulge the number one reason why you should start a podcast this year, I would like to share a couple of other tips with you and reasons why you should as well. But first, I want to just go over single-person podcasts versus multi-person podcasts. And in much of my podcast videos, I'll be sharing multi-person podcast details with you. The reason why is because you can pare that down. So if you are just going to do a single-person podcast like this, then you can still use that same information workflow and still produce and put out a podcast. But also you'll be able to expand if you ever want to, if you want to interview someone or have multiple people in a podcast where you have a shared conversation, then you can do that too. So that's really the purpose of today's video. And I am going to share the number one reason here in a little bit. We're in 2023, and if you are not incorporating video into your content strategy, whether it be email campaigns or ad campaigns or social media or anything like that, you should be doing that this year. If you're not, you're behind. And that's one big reason why I want to kick off 2023 by sharing podcast details, because I think this is the easiest way for anyone really to get off the ground, not only with sharing information with your audience, but also getting yourself on camera. And that leads me to my first reason why I think you should start a podcast is because it's hard to be on camera. It's completely nerve-wracking. It's hard to look into a lens and pretend like other people are on the other side of it. It's difficult to get your words together. We tend to not like the way we look or sound on video or audio. So one great thing about podcasts is that you can be recording a conversation with both you and yourself. And again, this is with a multi-person podcast or interview. And basically you can make an interview style where you have cameras up or you have audio recording equipment out, whatever that looks like, but you're having a conversation with someone else and it's just the two of you having a chat. And that is the best way I found with my clients and both with myself to work on getting over being nervous on camera, since everything should be video now. And it's always nice to have a conversation with someone else. So that's really good. During that conversation, it's a great opportunity for you to have an impactful conversation with someone else. Coming in, having great questions, they're going to ask you questions. And because it's a conversation and because you're open to hearing what the other person has to say, it's probably a new conversation for you as well. It's impactful content and people really like that. And speaking of content, short form video is so incredibly popular right now. At least we think it is, right? Whether it's an audio podcast or a video podcast, those short form is very popular, especially when it comes to video. But we forget long form content in the form of a podcast and also in the form of video is very popular. If you go on YouTube and you look up any podcast, lots of people have moved into the podcast space because long form video, what I mean by long form video is 30 minutes, an hour, and in some cases 3 hours long. You have such a long, meaningful conversation with someone that if you're really looking to interview and ask questions and dive in deep and give a person a chance to share their, the things that are most meaningful to them, then long form anything is the way to go. And that's still very popular. Another great reason to start a podcast. If you are interviewing someone else, you have a chance to get in front of their audience and vice versa. They have a chance to get in front of your audience. So what you're doing right away is when you're sharing that content is you are exposing yourself to people who may not know you. They may not know what you do, what you're about, or anything like that. So having an interview in podcast form allows you to expand your audience. And it also, in turn, gives your guest a chance to get in front of your audience, to have that type of exposure, to share their story or their product or their services or anything like that. So having a podcast is very impactful. Another great reason why podcasts are a great idea is because they're inexpensive. Like I have this microphone and I have this audio board and I have cameras and so on and so forth, but it has taken me years to get to this place. You can literally start a podcast just using your phone. And that is a great way to get that information out. That's going to lead me to the number one reason why I think you should be starting a podcast. And the biggest reason why is because you get more for your time and more for your money. So if you're sitting down and you're having an hour-long conversation with a different person every week, this gives you an hour of content to take from. So you can post that long-form content, which is very popular. And on social media, you can post short-form content, right? So Joe Rogan's of the world, Tim Ferriss's of the world, these bigger podcast hosts who capture everything in video as well, they're taking all of that content and they're cutting it down into clips. So you, as a business owner who might not have a large size marketing budget, and you're not sure where you're going to get content for social media, you're not sure how to best have a conversation with your audience or other people's audiences, podcasts are the way to go because you can cut all that down into bite-sized pieces. And now you have a ton of content that you can share throughout the month. So if you have somebody every week, you'll have at least one piece of long-form content. And then during that hour-long conversation, you could have upwards of 6 to 10 clips that you can take from, and you'll be able to share all of that on social media. It gives you a chance to really show everybody what your personality is. They're going to learn about you. They're going to learn about your products and services. They're going to learn about your expertise. And they can do that all in podcast form. So based on all of that, in the coming weeks, I am going to share different equipment setups and workflows for you if you're looking to start a podcast this year or if you really want to level up. So this is going to be for all of you who have no idea what you're doing, you have no equipment, and you've never done a podcast on your own or even been on a podcast. I'm going to go over very basic equipment setups and workflows for you, all the way up to the person who just wants to explore different ways of improving upon their podcast, whether it be with video or audio or types of equipment or anything like that. So stay tuned in the coming weeks. Hit the subscribe button if you're interested in learning more about how you can start your podcast in 2023. As you can tell, I'm passionate about this. I'm a big proponent of it. And I think that if you are looking to get out there more and speak to your audience more, podcasts are the way to go. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next week in the first workflow and equipment setup overview. I'll see you then.